Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Do Big podcast. On the podcast today, let us welcome Pravir Dahiya, Chief Technology Officer, Tata Tele Business Services. I'm going to tell you a little about Pravir, which is more on the professional front, and then we will have a conversation with him to get to know him better as a person. Pravir believes customer centricity is what holds the key to success for businesses, and application of right enabling technology to address their evolving needs is his ikigai. If you guys are wondering what ikigai is, I think you should check it out. There's a book on it, and there's lots of it written around it. His roots in management and engineering helped him contribute towards business success with the power of technology and innovation. As the Chief Technology Officer at Tata Tele Business Services, he is focused on driving business vision of democratizing technology for SMEs while championing the values of faster, simpler, and closer, enabling enterprises to do big in their respective business segments. I'm going to talk to him about the faster, simpler, closer in a minute. He strongly believes in coaching and mentoring teams and is focused on building high-performance organizations. And that's a lot about him. I'm not going into the fact that he has many, many years of business experience, all of that. But Pravir, welcome to today's episode. And just to jump into it, two things that I'm going to ask you. One is, what are these values of faster, simpler, closer that you champion? And then I'll jump into a little bit about you as a person.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. And let me probably start with the first question first. Faster, simpler, closer, and why Tata Tele has chosen that as our mantra or our value system to approach the market. Firstly, in the SME segment, we do believe that it's very, very important for us to turn around solutions in a quick manner, right? The requirements do not last long, and therefore they have to be adopted and delivered very quickly to the market. And therefore there's a need for the customers to get them faster. And faster does not mean doing it quicker all the time. It means doing it right the first time itself, and that becomes faster as well. When we look at simpler, it's trying to make things easy. We talk as a country to say we want to make it easy to do business with us. Similarly, in Tata Tele, we believe in trying to say not only on the selling process, but on the service process as well as the fulfillment processes, we ensure that the tasks are done seamlessly. And therefore, the customer never feels that it's very complex to talk to us or work with us or do business with us. So simplicity is about what iPhone did to the mobile phone business, right? That's the way we look at the whole engagement with customers to ensure we are simple in whatever we do. Closer is all about collaboration. And that's not only collaborating with the customer to understand their needs better and therefore address them better, but also work collaboratively within the company. So if a salesperson picks up an order which requires us to deliver a service in a particular fashion, our delivery person needs to understand it better. And unless they collaborate well, it's not likely to happen. Therefore, there's a strong element of collaboration required. That's, in essence, is what we mean by faster, simpler, closer, and how we adopt it to our business.
Fantastic. And, I know I jumped straight into a business conversation, but I want to know a little more about you. So, I know a lot about you as a professional. Just wanted to get a sense of who is Pravir Dahiya? What do you love? What do you do in your free time? What is it that takes you away from tech but keeps you within tech? What are the things that you like to do?
There's a bunch of things. So maybe start a bit with my family. Have been married happily. And my wife is a professional psychologist, and that keeps my brain in the right place, I guess. And got two kids, both girls. They kind of almost at the end of their studies. The elder one is finishing her post-graduation. The younger one is finishing her graduation. So both adults, they found their own way. They don't live in India anymore, so they have their own lives. So to make up for my family, or that, I've got my little cat, Benny, who's company to me at home. Also, extremely, extremely important to have a pet at home. I think that's an advice I give to everyone because that's really therapeutic. And whatever stress I have from work and when I get home, it goes away in a minute as soon as I see my cat. So that helps as well. So that's my family, my wife, my two daughters, and my little baby boy, Benny.
And as downtime, do you like traveling? Is it music, food? What gives you happiness?
I guess it would be music as the top thing. So if you happen to come to my house, you'll always find some or the other music playing. Spotify is the way to go nowadays. So the Bluetooth speaker is always booming in my house. If we look at type of music, going by where I am in my life today, we've picked up all our music during the 60s, 70s. So a lot of rock music, whether it's Beatles, Dire Straits, Pink Floyd, that works for me.
Okay, great. So that's fantastic. Thank you for letting us and our listeners get to know you a little better. And coming back to, the work that you do, etc. You've been across lots of organizations, both in technology and telecom, and you have huge amounts of experience in the digital technology space, right? I just want to understand, what have been your observations over the years on how digital technology has evolved?
Sure. In fact, I might sound a little primitive here, but I was born in the days of the black phone, right? I mean, you would remember the rotary dial black phone where you could even put a lock on it so that people didn't misuse it. And it's today's times with the smartphones and so on, which can do almost anything you want on the tip of your fingers. So if I have to look at the evolution of technology over this period, I classify it into two parts. There's been what we call the continuous evolution and the development phase, and there's been the disruptive element. If I look at disruption first, things which, let's say, Apple did with an iPhone was disruptive, right? Things which the internet did to the world is disruptive because it changed the way people worked. Things which generative AI is going to do, it's already done a bit, but which it is going to do to the world, it's disruptive. It's going to change the way people look at things, believe in things, and the way they work also. The continuous evolution part was slower and moved on. So the black phone moved to a push-button phone, moved to a display-based phone, moved to a mobile phone, moved to a Gen X phone, and moved to now a smartphone. So that was a slower process, but then continued to evolve. At the same time, when you look at the back end, the technology which supports these as well, the evolution of, let's say, mobile technologies from early days of, if you remember, we used to pay like 36 rupees a minute on outgoing calls, to today when practically data is almost called not only lowest in the world, it's close to being free. I mean, when you compare to any other country in the world. So that's evolution over a period of time. And there's been disruption, which has changed these things, which has ensured that the evolution has been even faster.
I remember launching BPL Mobile in 1995, which is the first when you spoke about 36 rupees per minute types, right? But between 1995 and 2025, which we're heading to soon, that's a really short period of time, right? So from black phone to 1995 was almost 50, 60 years. But from 1995 to today, that's really rapid fire. What has happened for it to change so quickly, so dramatically, so easily?
If we go back to the early 80s or maybe late 70s, when Intel was really taking off as the major microprocessor manufacturer across the world, there was something called the Moore's Law, which was adopted, right? They said every 2 years or 3 years, they'll double the capacity of these processing, which is there in a chip.
Correct.
Guess what? Today, that time frame is no longer anywhere close to what was envisaged. While it continued for the initial phases, but today, at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona this year, Intel announced that they are going to put in 1 trillion transistors onto a chip by 2025. And do you know where we are today? The iPhone 14, which is the most powerful handheld computer today, has about 8 billion. So 8 billion to 1 trillion, which is 120 times in 3 years, which has totally changed the way people compute and look at that. Now, it's not just the computing power. It has to be coupled with the software which goes with it, the kind of applications people use. And that's where I think is the strength of the evolution, which is going to help everyone to change whatever we're doing in a very, very dramatic way.
And so, given that there is so much change happening, right? Which digital technologies do you think will influence businesses in a significant way? And which of these should one really watch out for?
If I have to pick up one going forward, it would still be generative AI. Generative AI has a tremendous potential across several spheres, and not just the ability to, make better presentations or provide better solutions to people answering questions in an exam and so on. It will transform the ways of how we do business, what we do, and even in our personal and work life. So that's an area I would say has the largest potential going forward to disrupt our lives altogether.
Would you have an example that you could share with people so that they get a sense, right? Because today, when we talk about generative AI, almost everyone says ChatGPT, right? But are there other examples that you can quote which will explain to our listeners what is likely to happen with generative AI?
Yeah, sure. So while AI and generative AI in specific can be applied to several spheres of life, the most important area or areas, if I may use it, could be in the BFSI segment as we look at it, banking and financial services and so on, wherein if you go back in history, they evolved from the manual teller to the ATM machine to the internet banking to the mobile banking phase. The next phase would be where you could interact without using devices, right? Just talking to your phone or just conversing and having security built into yourself as a human and not really using devices per se to do that activity for you. Some things which are already in development by several organizations across the world, still early days, but that's an area which could be extremely disruptive. Secondly, the other area where a lot of people are also working, which can enable businesses to do things much better and faster, is intelligence analysis. What's happened in the world, and we can look at the numbers in specific separately, we can tend to know that the amount of data which is out there today is number of times higher than what we have been used to in the past, right? Typical examples people have quoted is that what data we've kind of got on the internet today in the last 10 years is more than whatever the humans were exposed to in the last 100 years, right? With that kind of humongous amount of data available, providing the right information and the right insights for the businesses to use as intelligence for their use is extremely difficult. And that's where generative AI will be very, very useful to be able to provide those insights to business users and make sure they take the right decisions based on data. We talk about, let's say, blockchain in the past will be enabled, which is already there in a lot of fintech industries for now, right? Today, a bank exists only on a mobile app. I don't know how much of us are aware that Apple is fastest rising bank in the world today. Apple is becoming the fastest growing bank in the world, right? Not only Apple Pay. I mean, they have a bank. They have a savings account today. You can open a savings account on Apple, right? And it's nothing. There's no branches there. It's just a piece of software, right? Now, all that going to the next level with generative AI is where things are going.
So, which actually gets me to a point saying that, a lot of the examples that we hear very often seem like it doesn't apply to me as a small business. It always seems to apply to a large Apple or another large BFSI segment. But just want to understand, which digital technologies do you think SMBs should watch out for? What is it that they should definitely adopt in business?
So I think one of the reasons why SMBs tend to believe that this technology may not apply to us is that they feel this is only applicable to the larger boys. But actually it does have direct or indirect implications on their business as well. If a large business starts doing some of the things which they do as a business without investing the same amount which the smaller businesses do, they'll be in trouble overnight. So let's say as SMB is into manufacturing a small component for a bigger automotive factory, larger organizations which have gone in for private 5G network with lots of data, analytics happening over AI and so on. And the smaller boy has not adopted any of these technologies. They can actually start doing the same stuff which the SMB was doing. And overnight, their businesses would not exist anymore. Therefore, it becomes very, very important for the SMB also to adopt the right technologies. And when we say right, it has to be what is most critical and strategic to their business. And it'll be unique to every business. So identify what their strategic strength is, retain it, and make sure that nobody can disrupt it.
So when we were researching with SMBs, one of the things that comes up is there is reluctance, right? And the reluctance is at various levels. One is, I don't know which technology I should. Second, technology is changing so fast. What if I implement something and it becomes redundant? Another could be, it's expensive. It's not an easy proposition or it's not a cheap proposition to put in technology. I'm just trying to understand in your experience, where is it really that, or, where the reluctance comes from? I know they're voicing some to us, but are these the same things that you see in business? Or do you think there's something else which will help them overcome this?
No, 100%. I think this is a very, very important question, and it's quite often asked. And it's very true as well that technology keeps evolving, and therefore any investment today will become redundant in a few years from today. What we should try and look at is not look at technology as technology, but look at our business and understand what is our core strength in that business. Identify that, and then make it even stronger using technology. What people tend to do is look at technology. Oh, ChatGPT is great. Let me see what I can do with it. But if it is not applicable to your business, you're going the wrong path, right? So if you understand the core strength of your business, or if you don't understand it, develop a core strength of your business, like we call competitive edge.
Correct.
And make it stronger using technology, you will be in a better place, right? So some people have a customer-centric business where customer is extremely important. So let's focus on that. Let's make sure that our customers get even better service using technology, because now technology can give you all those insights which otherwise you didn't have.
Correct.
That could help. If some people are great at manufacturing, what does it mean? That means their defects per million opportunities, as they call it, the Six Sigma way of working, are very low. Their quality is extremely good. You can improve it further. All this also creates entry barriers for competition to come in. You can do it with using technology. But if you start by saying, let me bring in this technology and do this, probably not going to work. So you start with the business, understand your core strengths, and enable and strengthen them further using technology. That would be my approach.
Oh, that's fantastic, because I think most SMBs, any which ways, know exactly what is happening in the business. That is their strength, right? The focus on the business. They know what is happening in the market. They know where they need to strengthen it. They know where it's going wrong. So I think that's a great piece of advice, that you continue to focus on the business and use technology to actually make it just better, sharper, more competitive. That's very, very interesting. As a CTO, what advice would you give SMEs who are just starting their digital journey? What steps should they take? There's always this thing, there's so much there. What should I begin with? Is there first baby steps that you think everybody needs to take, or even that is business specific? What do you think they should do?
Yeah, it would end up being kind of business specific, depends on the complications of the business that SMBs are in. However, a good point to start is look at the pain points, as in, right? Technology is always a good solution to address some of the pain points related to repeat working, or things where there's too many components to be dealt with manually by the humans and so on. Those are the basic hygiene things, if I call it. You set the hygiene right so that the basic way of working becomes simpler for all of your employees and all your customers and so on. And then you move on to looking at building the business strengths, as I spoke about, saying, okay, here I am going to be a great manufacturer, right? I will have the lowest defects in my products which I produce. How do I strengthen that more? Sometimes people look at supply chain as their strength. There's the great Asian Paints example. I mean, everybody's heard of their success story of managing their supply chain right up to the end retailer. That's totally built out on technology, but it wasn't technology first. They identified the customer need first, the supply chain issues later, and then brought in the technology to address it. That would be the right approach in my sense.
And are there steps that SMEs need to take or SMBs need to take to ensure smooth and successful transition into the digital era? So from non-digital to digital, is there something that will help ease the shift?
It is. And if we may relate to even our own mindsets, right? People who come in from a slightly older era, like the pre-digital native people, or people who've been born without the mobile phone and the internet, the non-millennials, they tend to find it more difficult to adopt. And that's the reason why some of the initial challenges in adopting technology can be a hindrance to their success. However, one way to really do it is it has to start from the leadership. That's number one. I think got to start from top down, whether you are a founder or a CEO. You got to understand the benefits and lead from the front. And if you do it, then you will find your teams adopting to it better. Then second part, take it in baby steps. Don't try to do everything at the same time. It doesn't work. Pick up key objectives and have some small wins along the way. Right? Because technology projects tend to be extremely long and they take up money, they take up resources. It becomes very difficult for you to gauge the results over such a long period of time. So if you create smaller wins along the way, the people will start adopting to it and seeing the successes gives them more motivation to do more of it. Right? So that could be a good way to start. Start with the top, but take baby steps and create smaller wins in the whole journey.
So as an SMB head, for example, if I was a business head of a small business, the resources, because one of the biggest constraints is I don't even know where to begin reading about technology, right? What should one do to at least kind of understand what technology is? Where are there resources like that? Do you attend forums? Do you listen to people? Are there things like that you would?
Now, the good news is today there's actually no dearth of forums and information available. It's to pick up the right one appropriate for you. There's tons of webinars out there. We ourselves run these do big forums, etc., for a lot of our customers and non-customers alike. There's a lot of companies, totally independent, who run technology forums, not only online, but there's now even offline forums which are available. The website is full of information about it. I think the key is to look at your business needs and identify which ones would be appropriate for you. And specifically for the SMBs, I think the government itself is doing a lot. The MSME forums, etc., bring out a lot of such, let's say, avenues where you can get a lot of information, what's appropriate for you. One example people typically give is, do I need, let's say, a CRM system? I'm just a 50 people. Maybe you don't, right? Because people tend to adopt whatever they see from the side. Maybe you don't. So understand what does an ERP really mean, and adopt it only when you believe that you've got enough complexity to be addressed by the automation you're looking for. So it's very, very important to be very focused on understanding the need, understanding the right forum, and then only adopting things which make sense for your business. A lot of avenues available. Again, I think the key is to pick the right one for you.
If we look ahead, let's future gaze for a bit, right? We're already into what the world we used to talk about 2025. We are already there. If we had to look a little further down, which is 2030 and beyond, what excites you most about the future of technology and its potential to transform business? I know AI is one answer, but give me another answer beyond AI.
So AI is just one element. You're absolutely right. It's not the only thing. It's just a major disruptor. But if you look at, let's say, you said 2030, what all would be there and how would we be operating? I think it's a good thing to always look at in the rear view mirror and say, where were we in 2010? Right? We didn't even have 4G then, right? We had 3G. Look at how we used to watch, let's say, internet videos on the YouTube. They were buffering and it was slow and you couldn't even get that. Right? Basics weren't right. Today, all that has gone. 2020, when 4G came in, all that was gone already. It was history. 2030 will be the era when it's not people with machines only. It'll be machines talking to machines and solving your problems, right? We also had the big dream of, let's say, autonomous cars at one stage, right? Where 5G was supposed to bring in. I believe 2030 will make it a reality.
Okay.
So today you use an Uber app to get a car to your door. Tomorrow you'll use the same app, but the car will come without a driver. It'll take you where you want by just programming it on your phone.
Wow.
You look at today going to stadiums to watch a new IPL game. Tomorrow you can have the same experience of the stadium sitting at home, just wearing a AR/VR device. And you'll believe that you're there in the stadium with the full, what they call the 7-dimensional experience of not only the crowds, but the feel of being there. Right? Those things are very close to reality already. Some of these products and services are being tested as we speak, right? The AR/VR experiences of moving into music stadiums was experimented recently by a large company. So these kind of things are going to happen and not only touch the SMB's lives, but your and mine life as individuals as well. And as individuals get affected, our demands get affected. And as our demands get affected, businesses who supply these demands obviously have to change and adopt and make sure they are in line with what the consumer expects.
So as a final thought, one or two thoughts that you want to leave SMBs with in terms of what they should think of digital for their business? Just some thoughts for them.
So one term which I picked up from one discussion with a legend in the IT industry was digitize or die. But it's not really to be taken literally. And thought to be left with all our listeners here from a SMB space is to say, yes, digitization is becoming more and more essential to run your business. It's no longer an option. Right? Earlier, one used to think, should I do this or not? Right? But now it's not that. It's about saying, which one do I pick up? What's most appropriate for our business? So number one, please make sure you understand your business right and adopt immediately. Because if you don't adopt it, somebody is out there going to bring in that technology and may disrupt your business altogether. Yeah, so that's number one. You need to digitize. Please prioritize the right technology which has to be adopted, but do it sooner rather than later because competition is going to do it anyway. The second most important element around this is adoption. And I think you touched upon it during our conversation as well. People are wary about it. But believe me, the kind of technologies which are coming in today are extremely intuitive. The biggest disruptor to the mobile phone era, we know, is the iPhone. And why did it happen? Nokia used to be running 90% of the mobile phone market before the iPhone came in. However, overnight, nowadays, nobody even talks of Nokia's mobile phones. Why? Because they totally changed the name of the game by moving from keypads to a complete mirror, as we call it.
Correct.
So these are the kind of things which will continue to happen, and it's extremely important that we watch for them. And we ensure that we keep adopting these, bringing them into our system. Otherwise, people are building on these, people will bring it. So make sure that we create ourselves or organizations in a manner that they are digital native now, because without that, it's not going to mean anything for our businesses.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Pravir, for joining me today. And very, very insightful conversation. I'm sure our listeners learned a lot. I definitely learned the fact that it's either digitize or die. And adoption is critical because the audiences are going younger, right? Our customers are younger. Our customers' expectations are that we will be digital first. And therefore, as SMBs, if we don't really go the digital first route, we're going to have problems as SMBs. And some young chap is going to come and replace us or give us the fight of our lives. So thank you very much for being here today. And it was an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Do Big podcast, a podcast that is dedicated to providing insights, strategies, and success stories of smart digital solutions for SMEs. We believe that behind every successful business, there's a strong foundation of reliable and secure technology, be it digital connectivity, cloud infra, cloud apps, collaboration tools, or cybersecurity solutions. In a rapidly evolving digital world where technology is key to progress, Tata Tele Business Services stands at the forefront of digital transformation of SMEs. Tata Tele Business Services, with their extensive experience and commitment to empowering businesses, understands the unique needs of SMEs. Tata Tele Business Services, with their extensive experience and commitment to empowering businesses, understands the unique needs of SMEs. Whether it's scalable connectivity, robust communication tools, or tailored ICT solutions, Tata Tele Business Services is here to propel your business forward. Tata Tele Business Services is synonymous with innovation, reliability, and transformative solutions. With a legacy spanning decades, Tata Tele Business Services has been empowering businesses and transforming lives across the nation. So, if you're ready to take your organization to new heights of success, we encourage you to explore the transformative possibilities that Tata Tele Business Services has to offer. Our contact details are in the description below. Remember, we're available on major podcast platforms. So if you enjoyed today's conversation, subscribe to our podcast for future episodes, which we promise will be packed with equally valuable insights on questions entrepreneurs face as they digitize and scale businesses with the help of technology. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast as well as share it with peers, colleagues, and other entrepreneurs like yourself who will benefit from listening to it. Thank you for listening to us. And until the next time, keep embracing technology and may your business thrive in the digital era.